What's up, everyone? This is Pooka, and welcome to another game I played on the Pokemon Trading Card Game Online. It has been a little while since I've uploaded a video, and in fact, it has been so long that we have a brand new set on our hands, and that would be Plasma Blast. Alright, so the biggest deck from this set, the one that's receiving the most hype, is the Virizion Genesect deck. Virizion EX has an ability that prevents all special conditions if your Pokemon has a grass energy attached to it. Also has that Emerald Slash attack that searches your deck for 2 grass energy and attaches it to one of your Pokemon. And then Genesect EX has Red Signal, an ability that allows you to, when you attach a Plasma Energy to it, it's basically like a Pokemon catcher. You get to choose one of your opponent's bench Pokemon and just kind of snag it up there. And then the attack is Megalo Cannon for 2 grass and a colorless energy. It will do 100 damage to the active and then 20 to a benched Pokemon. Now this also gets the benefit of the A-Spec tool G-Booster, which you get to attach to Genesect EX, and then you get to use G-Booster, which does 200 damage and actually goes through all effects. So things like, let's say, a Sigilif or a Suicune Safeguard will now work. It will get shut off. Well, it won't get shut off, but G-Booster goes through it. And yeah, basically, that is the cool part about that. So this is a hard-hitting deck. Got a lot of grass Pokemon. It is immune to Hypnotoxic Laser. So overall, kind of a cool deck. We'll see if it works here. Now, it looks like my opponent is using, well, a very interesting deck. Now, this looks like the deck that Dylan Bryan used at the World Championships this year. He took this deck to the top 16 until he ultimately lost to, Jason Kozinski, who, he might have won a tournament or 2 or 3. But yeah, this is going to be a Garbodor, Drifblim, Flareon, Landorus, Terrakion, Audino deck. I think I got all of the Pokemon. Basically, it was a huge counter to the metagame. And honestly, it actually does very well against this deck as well. As I play a Shadow Triad, get back a Plasma Energy. Garbodor, the Garbotoxin did just shut off my abilities. Otherwise, I would have used Jirachi EX to search for a supporter. It's also a new card. But, alas, I am forced to sit here and do nothing. But thankfully, my opponent is doing the same. No supporter for my opponent either. No real pressure being put on, so I'm feeling okay about this. I'll get another turn to attach an energy to my Pokemon. We'll power up Genesect there, and then pass. But yeah, this is one of the most creative decks we saw at the World Championships this year. Dylan Bryan is a mad genius, it would appear. And we'll see what happens in this game. Now, Flareon, of course, has that Vengeance attack. Does 20 damage plus 10 more for each Pokemon in your discard pile, which actually is very scary for my deck because I run all grass Pokemon that are weak to fire. Thankfully, my opponent plays an N and gives me a fresh hand of 6 to work with. That'll be nice. But yeah, Flareon is going to be a big old pain in the butt. That is for sure. Vengeance hurts when you're weak to fire. That can knock you out in one hit very, very easily. Okay, so now, I did not get a grass energy off of my N. I did get a Skyla, so I can Skyla for a supporter here. That's probably going to go for the Professor Juniper. We'll get that back. We'll get that out of my deck into my hand. Again, my opponent just has a really bad hand this game. I have the Team Plasma badge that I could put onto Virizion EX, but, that's probably not going to be too useful at this point. I use that so I could Chorus Machine onto Virizion EX on the first turn, maybe get a little boost from Deoxys EX, and then use Emerald Slash to power up Genesect EX very quickly. I don't run too heavy of a Lion on Plasma Badge. Honestly, this is my first draft for this deck. I don't know if there's a good list for it or not. I'm trying to... It's almost like a mix between a normal Plasma deck, but we're kind of focusing on Genesect instead of Kyurem or Lugia. Not too sure how it's going to work quite yet, but I'm going to try it out. I do put a Floatstone onto Virizion EX, and we're going to catch her out Eevee. Now you might wonder why I even bothered putting a Floatstone on a Pokemon with a 1 retreat cost. And that's actually because of Drifblim, which we do see in my opponent's discard pile. That has the Shadow Steel attack, I believe that's what it's called. It does 50 times the number of special energy in your opponent's discard pile. So I am at all costs trying to keep special energy out of my discard pile. But we will get a Megalo Cannon on this Eevee, going to hit for 100 damage. And then we'll hit somewhere else for 20 damage. It's kind of like Night Spear, but the damage is redistributed a bit. I actually prefer Darkrai EX's Night Spear that does 90 and 30. 90 is a solid number to 2-hit any EX in the first place. And then, you know, doing 32 bench Pokemon is obviously better than doing 22 bench Pokemon. So I believe Genesect's attack is a little inferior to Night Spear, but that's okay. Now we will see a Tropical Beach come down for my opponent. I do have Tool Scrapper in my hand, but you know, Garbodor really isn't affecting me that much, so I'm going to hold on to Tool Scrapper for a turn where I might actually need to use that. I also have a Pokemon Catcher in hand. Now I could just Megalo Cannon the active Trubbish and then hit the Drifloon for another 20. Set it up for a 2-prize knockout next turn. But I'm just deciding to catch out the Terrakion since that's the thing with energy. Might as well just go after the threat that's on board there. And we can Megalo Cannon. It is weak to grass. So we can Megalo Cannon for 200. And then continue to pick away at that Drifloon, which has 60 HP. My opponent here has not really gotten the best of hands here. So I'm not sure how accurately we're going to depict this Genesect Virizion deck. A lot of people are saying that this deck is way overhyped, that it's not very good. And you know, at first glance, I'm going to say that it does feel kind of clunky. I don't know how well it's actually going to work. The energy cost is just too awkward, 2 grass and a colorless. There's no real grass acceleration in the format. Sure, there's Virizion EX, but that takes 2 energy to use Emerald Slash. So, I mean, you're going to take so long to power it up. I'm really not convinced that it's going to be a top deck quite yet. But I will, you know, keep an open mind to it. And I'm going to keep trying it out. Because, honestly, the attack that wins you over is the G-Booster on that A-Spec card. And the nice thing is that it's a Team Plasma card, so you can actually get that back with Shadow Triad, and you can reuse that A-Spec. It's pretty nifty, but I'm not sure. It might just not be good enough. I don't know, we'll see. Right now this is going very well for me, but my opponent is getting a couple of Eevee down. There are a lot of Pokemon in my opponent's discard pile, so a Vengeance on a Genesect will be a one-hit knockout at this point, which is very scary for me. I do not like that prospect. He is going to retreat to the Drifloon that has 40 damage on it, so if I don't draw a catcher here, I am going to be forced to kind of waste that 40 damage that I've built up here. It's kind of a bummer. I'm going to go ahead and play a Chorus, and looks like a swing and a miss. I didn't attach before the Chorus because I was hoping to keep my options open there. If I had drawn a Tool Scrapper and a Plasma Energy, I could have attached to the active Genesect and then used Red Signal to bring up an Eevee, and then Megalo Cannon for a double knockout here on an Eevee and then the Drifloon. But instead, I'm just going to have to sit back. We'll retreat to the Thundurus EX, which honestly I feel like is the better accelerator for this kind of a deck, as opposed to the Virizion EX. You need to play Virizion EX as kind of a laser nullifier, because that does stop Hypnotoxic Laser and all special conditions from happening to any of your Pokemon that have grass energy on them. Virizion EX has an incredible ability. You can see they kind of printed that card to say, whoops, we screwed up with laser. Let's print this card. And so you do need Virizion EX since you are going to run grass energy with Genesect, but maybe Virizion shouldn't be the focus. It should just be kind of a bench sitter to help out with special conditions. I don't know. And maybe Thunderous is still the way to go to power up your dudes, but Grass and Lightning don't really work very well together. They aren't even on the same blend energy. So this deck is just confusing all around, I would have to say. I don't really know how well it's going to work. We'll have to see, though. Now, we do have... somehow, did a DCE get onto a Garbodor, or was that just a delayed retreat animation? I don't know. Anyway, Flareon does come up, and we do have a Vengeance for, looks like 130 damage. That is pretty brutal. But I can respond here. I can just go ahead and retreat to my Genesect EX. And now is probably a good time to play a Tool Scrapper. But it looks like I'm just going to Megalo Cannon. I really get greedy with my Tool Scrappers, apparently. I don't play them when I should all the time. I try to wait for big moments where they can impact the game and catch my opponent off guard, but this is probably as good a time as any to use a Tool Scrapper. Oh well. Now this could still be a close game. What can happen is if my opponent can get 3 straight Flareon hits, I can lose. So here is the Flareon for this turn. I'm going to hit with a Vengeance, but he will need another Eevee to come down here to have a shot at winning this game. If the Eevee doesn't come down, and it didn't, I think I pretty much got this game wrapped up. So, Vengeance takes down the Genesect. Ouch, that was a big 300 damage Vengeance. And then we are going to attach another Grass to Genesect EX. Now is a good time to play Tool Scrapper. Starting to worry about N. Could put my hand down to 1 after this turn. There's a nice glitch there with Tool Scrapper where you can discard 2 tools from your opponent's side and 2 tools from your own side if you so desire. We're going to have an Ultra Ball. Might as well discard Virizion EX and then Deoxys EX. And then we'll just search for something to put into play here. Could be another Genesect, could be a Keldeo. Might as well be a Keldeo, I guess. Doesn't really matter. Just going to thin my deck out at this point. And then go ahead with a Megalo Cannon for, it'll be 110 now with the Deoxys. The Power Connect will activate. Garbotoxin, no longer in effect. And I think this game's wrapped up. I don't see any way for my opponent to knock out this Genesect. And if he doesn't, I mean, everything has less than 100 HP, or 100 or less, I should say. And I should be fine. We have an N to 1 here. And my opponent's probably digging for a Pokemon catcher or something. I even hit a Juniper up the end of one. And he says G squared, GG. And this Genesect Virizion deck will take a win here in this first game. Taking a knockout on the Drifblim against his wacky deck. Flareon, Garbodor, Drifblim, Terrakion, Landorus, Audino. Alright, hope you guys enjoyed a game with these brand new cards. I'll have some more videos for you soon. I am Pooka here from the Top Cut, and I'll see you guys next time.